Let me give you a little history first, if you don't mind.
Okay.
AID began housing back in 1972, and we actually started with apartments, the community living facility model. And the state moved away from that for whatever reason, moved to the SILA model, where individuals moved into group homes of, well, basically mostly 8 people, because rates didn't go up to support less than 8. So we closed our community living facility, our apartment program, in favor of the new model, group homes where everyone would live together happily ever after as one big family. And we, AID and the organization I worked for before went hot and heavy into developing the community integrated living arrangements. We had lots of families who needed support services for their children. Many were older families who wanted a safe, secure place for their children to be. And
These are their adult children?
They're adult children, yes. And when I first came to AID about 20 years ago, the reason they brought me in was because I did housing. Housing was my specialty. And I loved housing. I've been doing housing basically almost since the start of my career in mental health and developmental disabilities. So I went down that same path, developing the SILA programs, the group homes, and they certainly were nicer than nursing homes. But I have to say, we kept thinking, gosh, we're losing something with our not using apartments. And apartments really offered many opportunities for people that they really don't have in a group home. So with the understanding that this was the new model, we went full force into developing those services. And what we found was that people didn't like living together in large groups. And unless they had their own bedroom and the numbers were small, they were very difficult to make run like a real family. And the challenge, of course, in trying to create a family is you're putting together ideally 4 or not more than 4 people that don't know each other. And they may not even like each other. And even when you have an individual bedroom, a place for them to go to, it is really hard to create a homogeneous group that get along well. Even if you have a regular family, the sibling issues and all of those issues arise. So, and it's even harder to make a group living situation where people don't have their own personal space. One of the things we found that was helpful was a model where people lived with the clients. They lived there 3 days on, 4 days off. That was better. So we've tried every way to try to make group living work successfully. And it works for people that don't have significant needs. Folks who have moderate needs, no challenging behaviors, no desires to have personal space, you could make a SILA work. But for individuals that presented more challenges, they needed their own apartment or live with one other person of their choice, or they weren't successful. And we have at AID what I call my no decline policy. If they live in our community, we need to find a way to make it work. That was a challenge for our staff because they were used to, well, this person doesn't fit, let's move them out, move someone in that does fit. No, we need to make it work for the people that live here. And really, we kind of fell upon the tax credit project. Dawn Guler was just absolutely fabulous in searching out ways to find affordable units for our people with serious mental illness. And that's really how we started, getting back into the apartment business, because I do believe the apartments offer many advantages to the small group homes, which really are more isolated, and people only have the other people they live with to communicate with. So we really began looking seriously at how we could maximize use of properties that were owned and managed by other people. It had many benefits. And the biggest ones, of course, are that we don't have to worry about the housing costs. One of the other downsides, of course, keep expanding housing is where do you get the money to buy the house, to pay the mortgage? And you're confronted with these problems of, do I spend money to get new carpet or do I give the staff a raise? I mean, that's a terrible dilemma to be in. And you know when people aren't getting along, where they go, how do you manage that? How do you manage that without excluding them from your program? So as we started with the mental health clients moving into the tax credit apartments, we saw them blossoming, frankly. They didn't have to follow the strict regimens in the 24-hour settings. They really liked having their own apartment, their own money. Many of them get jobs that were not getting jobs in the 24-hour settings. And really, we thought we were onto something. Find someone else to pay for the housing, let the client control their housing. We stay out of the housing piece, but we get a spot in that housing unit to have an office space so that the staff are there, and if they need support, we're there. We're there for them.
So basically, the first thing you said was the way to expand housing is to get out of the housing business. Let someone
other
else
people's buildings.
use other people's buildings.
Use other people's
I think
buildings.
that's great. And you talked about the difficulties of the people living in the group home, but you also have the difficulty of 24-hour staff coverage,
Yes.
and staff having to live with the residents and each other.
Right.
And it multiplied the number of difficulties, whereas if a person has their own apartment, people come in as a guest.
28% of the clients in the program have community jobs. You know, when you think about the clients we serve, we want them to have jobs and we want them to have independent housing. 28% have community jobs. And also, 98% of them are able to be maintained in this program with the supports that we provide.
The staff at Sherman would be supervising me for 24 hours, and I didn't like living there.
I work at Portillo's. I started in October of 2017. I clean tables and chairs.
Michael has had the opportunity to come and live at Water's Edge after being at AID for the last 6 years or so, living in group homes. And he gets much independence. As for family members, this has been a great experience. He gets to have his own freedom, his privacy, but he also has the safety of supervision so that he can be independent, but have others look after him so that we don't have to worry as a family that he's out there on his own.
My favorite part is freedom. Like, you could go out on your own.
Where are you going to be working in June?
Ground cover.
Midwest ground cover?
Midwest ground.
And what kind of job is that?
It's landscaping.
Landscaping. Do you like working there?
Yeah.
And do you get paid there?
Yeah.
What do you use your money for?
Pay my bills.
And to purchase things you need to live on your own.
Yeah.
AID saw the SRN waitlist as a fabulous opportunity, and we really worked hard to make sure that any client that we had that needed supportive housing services got on that list right away. In doing so, we were able to secure the majority of the SRN units in our area. And the SRN units in buildings that weren't occupied by AID clients, we've actually been able to open those people to services because other agencies have transferred care to us. We started with 5 individuals in SRN apartments, and today behavioral health residential serves 131 individuals in tax credit apartments and another 330 in scattered site apartments. All of these apartments are owned or leased by the client themselves. These are not AID owned or operated. The clients have free choice in how they decorate, what activities they do with their free time, whether they work or volunteer. They get to choose who their staff are. We have a variety of case managers available to them, and if one relationship doesn't work out, the clients are able to choose somebody else to work with.
I cook my own food and I pay my own bills and do a lot more stuff. The AID staff does paperwork with me and meds.
We do provide up to 15 hours of service based on what that individual needs. There is a difference between living in 24 hours and an ISILA, and if we can bridge that gap and allow clients that maybe don't need 24 but need more than 15 hours, that option is now available.
He's always been self-sufficient, so Michael has always had his own independence within means, but it has given him the opportunities to grow on his own without the pressure of a parent or an older sister or a sibling telling him what to do and when you should do it. It's easier on the family because he's safe. There is staff there that is there to monitor his safety and decisions he might make.
Sophia, my cat, has her own room, and she really likes being there and playing with the toys. Look, you're on camera. You see?
Parents and I never thought I would live in my own apartment. I'm very, very proud of myself.